Hi, I'm Vanessa from SpeakEnglishWithVanessa.com, and today I have a special guest, my husband Dan.
Hello.
Today we are going to be having a long English conversation because over 2 years ago, back in February 2020, we made this conversation and millions of you loved this and said that it helped you to immerse yourself in English and have a fun time. So today we're going to be doing something similar. We'll be talking about at least 10, possibly more topics, and we'll be giving our opinions and stories and ideas.
Banter.
Yes, whatever comes up along the way. And there will be subtitles for key phrases down here, but you can also click CC to get the full subtitles so that you don't miss any words. All right, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. But wait, before we get started, like always, I have created a free PDF worksheet for this lesson that you can download. Never forget what you are about to learn. You can click on the link in the description to download this free PDF worksheet today, and you will have a chance to answer all of today's questions too.
Ooh.
Okay, are you ready for question number 1?
Yes, I'm ready. What is it?
Question number 1.
What is the meaning of life?
Oh, that would be a good start. Topic number 1 is family, and I'm going to be putting the timestamps for all of these topics in the description. So if you want to re-watch any of these sections, you can easily skip to them. My first question is about family, and that is, what is an interesting fact about your family history?
Interesting fact. Well, I don't know too much about my mom's side of the family. I know they've been in the United States for a long time, but they just didn't really keep any records. But on my dad's side, on the other hand, I have I had a particularly detail-oriented grandmother.
Yes.
Who would remember everything about her childhood, and she went back and looked at, I don't even know how she found documents about where they came from. So her family was in Germany, near, I can't remember, I think it's Hamburg, and Grandpa was also from somewhere in Germany, and both of them just happened to move to eastern Kansas, which is, if you've ever been to Kansas, it's just cornfields and that's it. It's not a very beautiful place, but somehow they ended up in Kansas, and my grandma would always give lots of details about growing up there on the farm and how they didn't have electricity. And, she would go on about, these stories about, this is how she would talk. One time, me and my brother Bern, we went to the backyard and filled up the tin bucket with hot boiling water. And he took all the hot water, Daniel.
She remembered it was a tin bucket.
Yeah. And it was Cousin Bern, and it was, Uncle Freddie, people like that. I think her father's name was Freddie.
Oh, that's
Frederick.
our son's name.
So yeah, I don't know how interesting that is, but it's the only cultural knowledge I have about my past. The other side of the family, they just, we lived in Virginia a long time ago.
Yeah.
And my great-grandfather was a coal miner, apparently. So kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool though, that because in the US everyone has heritage from other places around the world, and it kind of gets lost sometimes. In fact, that's what I was going to talk about too in a moment. But that area in Kansas, I remember your grandma saying that there were German-only churches.
Oh, yeah.
So they would speak only German. And did your grandma know any German?
Very little. I don't think she knew a lot.
I think that's kind of the generational thing. Like,
she's
her parents knew it.
The last generation that spoke German.
Yeah.
Or her parents were the last generation that spoke German.
Yeah, but then for her, she just understood probably some German, and then, but that community was for some reason where lots of German people moved to, and that's where your family's from.
Yeah, and they went through a lot of really challenging cultural changes. There was a lot of German mistrust and hate during that time, obviously for reasons that we can understand.
Political
we were
reasons.
At war with Germany a lot, so I think they were trying to scrub out a lot of the super German sounding things. Apparently our last name was more German sounding at one point. I don't know how they said it, but,
Yeah.
And speaking German would certainly be one of those things.
Yeah, so they tried to kind of assimilate to life, and that's similar to
Tell me about your family history.
Similar to the interesting point I wanted to tell you about my family history is that on my dad's side, my great-grandma and my great-grandpa, they are from around the area of Naples, Italy. And first, my great-grandpa went on a boat, came to the U.S., married someone, had 3 kids.
That's a good story.
And then his wife died. So he
that's
has
the bad part.
3 kids and no wife, and he's working, I'm sure, a really difficult job. That was not a time when you could be a single father.
This was in Pittsburgh, right?
They were either in New York or Pittsburgh, but by the time my great-grandma came, they went to Pittsburgh. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So he wrote a letter to his mother, who lived back in Italy, and he said, I need to find a new wife. Can you help me to find a new wife from our hometown that will come here to live with me and help take care of my 3 kids? So his mom said, no problem, I'll find you a wife. I got her. Here's her height. Here's her dimensions. Get a wedding dress for her. So my great-grandpa got a wedding dress made in the US, the right size and everything for his future mysterious wife. We call this a mail order bride. He basically ordered her in a letter, like you would a package. And he, I don't know what he did with his kids, but he went to Italy. And as legend has it, one day he was in the house. They were preparing things for the wedding. And he looked out the window and a woman walked by. And he said, oh, that's the woman I want to marry.
Who's that?
Was that his mail order bride? Nope. That was my great-grandmother. So
Was it her sister? The original woman's sister?
One of the legends is that it was woman's sister.
Adds to the drama.
But my grandma clarified this was her mother. She said, oh, he saw her outside the window
She's
and
just
said,
a random lady?
and well, this is all a little vague because this is going back quite some time.
Excuse me, ma'am, will you marry me?
Basically. And she was taller than his other supposed to be wife. So he married her. Her name was Antoinette. He married her. She said, yes, I'm going to move to the US with you, leave my family. She must have had a really tough situation, I imagine. They were all farmers. I'm sure that was a really hard life, and that could give her some hope for the future. So in the wedding pictures, her dress is a little bit too short because it was not supposed to be her dress. It was supposed to be the other lady's dress. And I'm glad that happened because otherwise I would not be here.
That's Vanessa's origin story, really.
Yeah. And this lady, Antoinette, she moved to the US. She had 3 kids. And then her husband died. So she had 6 children in a new country. Crazy story. She raised them, and she's kind of what we might call the matriarch of my dad's side of the family.
Antoinette Monolfi.
Yes. Everybody who is from that side of the family knows her and reveres her. Said, oh, she was so amazing. Oh yeah, she just helped us survive. So we might say she was a survivor. She really went through a lot, and she was the right person for the job because she made it work.
Nice.
So yeah, that's an interesting story about my family. I'm sure everyone has those as well. So I want to ask you the same question. Let us know in the comments, what's an interesting story or an interesting fact about your family history? We'd love to know. Let's go to question number 2. This is about childhood. And I'd like to know, what's something that you did as a child that you still do now? These are kind of personal questions to start off with.
Well, we laughed before this because she said everything. So I am a little bit, let's just say, youthful in my approach to life. So that's the positive way to say it anyway. But something that I directly do, especially now, because I have kids, is catching critters.
Oh, yeah.
Catching critters and keeping them. And I would say critters are generally small animals.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I spent, I would say 50% of my life trying to catch frogs, lizards, grasshoppers, snakes, bugs of any kind. And I would keep them in cages, and I would use nets to catch butterflies, terrariums, aquariums, fish, anything like that.
Wow.
I caught and kept lots and lots of critters. So there was probably a 5-year phase where we didn't do that very much. But funnily enough, even when we first got married, and you're into this too. I don't know where she got this. Maybe it's infectious.
We caught tadpoles as kids.
So we would catch tadpoles as just a married couple. We'd go down to the pond and scoop in and get some mucky gucky tadpoles and watch them change into frogs. It's the miracle of life.
You know what? I have a distinct memory on our honeymoon.
Oh!
We were taking a hike and you saw this. I think this was the first time I'd ever caught critters with you.
Oh.
Because, I don't know, maybe when we were
She didn't know what she was signing up for.
Maybe when we were dating, we just weren't in those situations. But I remember we were on a hike and you were like in a stream picking up rocks. And you were so excited because this is a good salamander spot. There might be salamanders. And then you found one and I was so impressed. Like,
yeah, thank you.
How did you find that salamander? Because I caught tadpoles maybe like every summer as a kid. But I never caught salamanders or whole frogs or fish. We like had nets and caught like fireflies and stuff. But I think you take it to the next level.
Yeah. Especially as a kid, I took it to the next level. Like one time I caught a 5-foot snake and I didn't even know what kind it was. I just reached into the bushes. I didn't grab it the right way. It was like swinging it through the air. And that was probably the dumbest thing I ever did, honestly, as, catching critters as a child. But it extends beyond that, too. I've always liked keeping fish. I love making fish tanks in the environments. And obviously, you can do that for frogs and reptiles. So I have big dreams for my son because he's also very into this.
Oh, yeah. He is
probably
crazed
gets it
about
from
his
me.
net and catching stuff. He just loves that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's treasures in nature.
Soon enough, our house will turn into a menagerie of critters.
I just have one rule.
Scorpions!
I don't mind keeping frogs and lizards and fish,
Snakes?
but I don't want to keep any snakes.
Oh, come on.
I know a lot of snakes are harmless, but
Cute.
I would rather the snakes live under our shed than live in our house.
That's more dangerous.
Well, if they're not poisonous.
Oh, okay.
If they're not venomous, then they can, catch rats and catch things and keep our chickens safe, that type of thing. But
Is that what snakes do?
yeah, a lot of chickens.
They protect chickens?
A lot of people, and this is getting a
Are
little too
chickens
deep.
critters?
I
They're a
don't
little
think
too big.
so. When I think of a critter, I think of like crawling. Like something that goes like
Yeah.
like a little crawling thing.
Am I a critter?
That's a good question. But I was going to say some people, we have chickens. If you might have seen this on our YouTube channel before. Some people purposefully have a rat snake or a black snake, a garter snake that live in their chicken coop, and they eat like one egg per 2 weeks or something. They don't eat that much.
Is that good?
But they do it for protection. So they're keeping rats away. They're keeping other things away from the coop.
Wow,
And there's a whole, let me tell you.
So you want me to bring snakes into our family?
Well,
but outside.
As long as they are outside, that's okay. I don't want snakes in my house. Yeah, so that's
I have lots of
that's a
good
whole nother
stories
stuff.
about snakes in the house. Like one snake escaped the house.
Don't tell me that.
And my mom found it like under the couch like months later, and it was like dead.
Oh,
completely.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those classic situations of mom screams in the other room, and we're like, what?
You kids have that
like-
snake in here?
Daniel, gee, what is this thing? That's what she'd say.
Well, do you want to share also, while we're on this topic, your first memory, the frog?
Oh, my very first memory.
Yes, this will drill in the point that Dan
I
really
like
likes
critters.
to catch critters.
Yeah, I caught a toad probably when I was 2 years old, and I was, for some reason, holding it off my deck, and I dropped it down into the bushes. And I remember thinking, no, my toad! And then I went down to look for it, and I couldn't find it.
And this is Dan's first memory in life.
Literally. One, at least as far as I know.
Well, there you go.
That's the point of
A
memories.
lifetime
As far
of
as I
catching
know.
critters started at a young age. Well, I think
Yeah, how about you?
for me,
What do you still do besides catching lots of critters?
I do catch tadpoles still. That's fun. But I think the thing that first came to my mind, and I tried to think about just like the first thing that came to my mind for each of these, is when I was a kid, I loved to dig in the dirt. My sister and I had two best friends who lived right across the street, and we spent hours in the backyard just digging in the dirt. We built things in the dirt. We had little inventions. We made homes in the dirt. We did so many things. And now I dig in the dirt, but I call it gardening.
I think we have the wrong YouTube channel. We just need to be covered in mud with like snakes and
Maybe that will be
gardening.
YouTube channel
Number 2.
number 2. Dan catches critters and Vanessa digs in the dirt and gardens. But I remember when I was in 7th grade at school, we had a class. I think it was home ec, which is like home economics. You learn about cooking and I don't know, sewing and those types of things. But there was a hygiene section where you learned how to take care of your hair, how to take care of your nails. I remember specifically.
How to take care of your nails.
I know.
There's a class about that?
Well, it was like how to, I don't know, some people maybe don't learn that at home, like how to trim your nails and stuff. And this lady was one of those people that as a middle schooler, most middle schoolers just like roll their eyes at, like, you think I'm going to do that? Oh, I'm not going to be like you. But she was our teacher, and she was telling us how to clean our nails and paint them and this type of thing. And I remember asking...
Was it for ladies only?
Yeah, we were split by gender. So there was boys in one class, girls in the other.
Okay.
Just for home ec. And I remember her saying how to clean your nails and make them look nice. And I remember asking in the class, I said, but what if I always have dirt under my nails?
You raised your hands and asked that?
I asked that question. I was so naive. But I said, but I always have dirt under my nails. I can't get them clean like that.
Yeah.
And she looked at me like, what?
Why would you-
Like I had 3 heads on my head. Like, what? Why would you have dirt under your nails? You're a 7th grade girl. And I think after that,
Be proper.
maybe when I was like in 8th grade or so, I had a phase where I stopped playing in the dirt and did other things. But now I have come full circle and, well, I took a shower recently, so my nails are actually clean. But they are almost always full of dirt, just like our kids.
I'm sure you put in more effort to get the dirt out now.
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I have the same mindset as a 7th grader of, well, my hands aren't going to be completely clean because
You really do.
I was just playing in the dirt.
Yeah.
What's the matter with that?
If you look at Vanessa's wardrobe, I have more clothes than her
Yeah.
half the time.
I don't really care about those
Yeah,
kind of
she's
things.
not like your typical girly girl. Let's put it that way. A girly girl.
That's okay.
That's my sister.
Well,
Maybe
get-
we'll talk about her later.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to our next question. But before we do that, I want to ask you, what is something that you did in childhood that you still do now? Let us know in the comments. All right, let's go to question number 3. Question number 3 is about hobbies. I'd like to know if you could wake up tomorrow and magically have any kind of education, talent, or skill set, what would it be?
Education or skill.
Yeah, this is very broad.
Yes. Well, when I think skill, I mean, I kind of think that I would want to be, and this is a little stereotypical, an athlete of some kind. Particularly a hockey player. Because when you are playing a sport and you really like that sport, you get into the flow and you just live in that moment and you just have so much fun. And like, I can remember as a kid, one time I scored a goal to win the game in hockey, and that's just like the greatest feeling ever. Now, if you add to that a big like stadium full of fans cheering your name, am I egotistical? I don't know. Like that would just be like the ultimate thrill to score a goal and hear everybody cheering.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, either a athlete of some kind or a performer. So I think you kind of get the same kind of feeling if you're acting, if you're maybe a stand-up comedian and you're making people laugh. Or even to a certain degree, I think being like a really great teacher. Being a really great teacher probably gives you that same kind of feeling of you're performing and bringing value and people are entertained and yeah, so but if I were to have like I wasn't thinking so much education. I was thinking more skill. So I would wake up tomorrow and I'd be like the best hockey player on earth.
Wow.
Maybe that'd be a little bit boring, like I'm just like beating everybody right and left. I'm sure you still have to work though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have great athletic prowess.
Cool.
How about you? What would you want to wake up tomorrow with?
Well, I kind of said something a little bit stereotypical too.
Oh,
I
yeah?
had my primary answer and then a maybe cheat answer.
Oh.
So, I think if I could wake up tomorrow with a skill, maybe I said something a little more realistic. I said, I'd like to be able to play the ukulele really well.
The ukulele.
So I don't play the ukulele. I play the flute. I don't know. I just thought if I could have a cool skill, I mean, that's something that I could take like outside. I could be playing while the kids are playing.
This is a very humble dream.
I could, maybe it is. I didn't want to like think for too long about this. I wanted to give you my initial response. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. Like a guitar is pretty big to take somewhere. A piano would be amazing, but it's not quite as portable. And I just feel like sometimes when I had this image, like you're sitting around a bonfire and the sun's setting and you're just chatting with your friends, just having a ukulele and playing some music, that just brings the atmosphere to a very warm place.
You
It's
could
so
play
nice.
Wheels on the Bus
I could play
for our children.
I could maybe play Wheels on the Bus in like
That's
5
the first
minutes if
song
I
that
tried.
comes to my head.
Yeah.
The version we listen to, it's like doot 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 doot.
Yeah.
And I just hear ukulele.
Yeah. Well, if you play the ukulele and you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. But my kind of cheat answer, because I wasn't sure if it was a skill set or a character trait, but I said unlimited patience. If I could wake up in the morning
That's an education.
and, I guess you can learn patience. If I could have unlimited patience with my children, that would be amazing. And with myself.
They'd get away
and
with
you.
too much though.
I don't know. I think you can be firm and also be patient. So it doesn't mean you have no standards, but I think that I would, just be able to be a little bit. I think you're always a better parent when you are more patient. So maybe.
They certainly test the patience.
Yes, unlimited patience would be awesome. So what about you? If you could wake up tomorrow and have any education, talent, or skill set, what would it be? Would it be speaking English fluently? Or maybe it would be something else. Let us know in the comments, and let's go to question number 4. Question number 4 is about travel. I'd like to know, where is the next place in the US that you'd like to visit?
Oh, I gotta travel in the US.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a little more specific, and it might be interesting to some of our international students
Well,
to learn about places in the US.
I'm kind of joking because there are a lot of amazing places in the US, but I really love international cities.
I know.
Like Europe and Asia. I just think they're so interesting.
I know.
But the US has lots of beautiful natural environments. So I would probably travel to Washington or Oregon.
You know what?
Did you say the same thing?
My first answer was the Northwest, Seattle, that area, Oregon, and I crossed it off.
Did you think that I was going to say that?
No, I thought of somewhere I would rather visit first, but
Oh,
I'm with you.
okay.
I'd like to go there too.
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest, because I've never been there, and it just looks so stunningly beautiful there, at least for part of the year. And it has really big mountains and really dense green forests, and it has the ocean as well. So I really love a landscape that has lots of rocky features, but also the ocean. Like that's one of my favorite kinds of landscapes.
Yeah.
So I would probably go there, and it has really cool cities too. So Seattle is a really awesome city, and you could jump up. I mean, I've never been there, but it looks really cool. And you can jump up to Vancouver as well and get that full Pacific Northwest experience.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd choose. I could do lots of outdoorsy stuff. I could see a different side of the country and even do some urban things as well.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun place. In fact, one of my options too.
Yeah. So what did you choose instead?
Well, I thought about that.
Wait, let me guess. Grand Canyon?
Close.
New Mexico.
A little more general.
Arizona.
I said I want to rent an RV and have a big tour of the Southwest National Parks.
Oh, this is a regional thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's so many amazing national parks in the west, southwest, not even southwest, but just the west of the US. Yeah, I think that would be an awesome like 2-month journey where you say, I'm gonna book a bunch of camping places, and you're not having to like tent camp. I think that might be a little too intense for us for 2 months. But in an RV, it would still be in cool locations, maybe closer to the national parks, and you'd get to see a lot. Because 2 months ago, we went to Colorado, in Colorado Springs, and I had never seen the Rocky Mountains or that area of the US, and I was blown away. It is so beautiful that, yeah, I've been reading some books about that area of the US, some like historical fiction about the history there. And yeah, I'm fascinated. I think that would be really cool. Check out some of the history, check out some beautiful places. We like hiking, so it seems like a good fit.
And it's very different from where we live now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Surprisingly
I chose the wettest part of the country, and you chose the driest.
Yeah, I think that is like that was really shocking to me when we went to Colorado. It's super dry there, and I've been in dry climates before.
Arizona is way drier.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, there's deserts there, but I feel like being somewhere like that, even though the U.S. is the same country, it feels so different that it does feel like you've gone, almost into a different world when you visit different climates like that and different
very
geography.
Easily could be many countries.
Oh, it could very easily
Maybe it should be.
many countries. So I want to know for you, if you live in the U.S. or if you got the chance to visit the U.S., where would you like to visit? Where's the first place that you would like to go if you got to come to the U.S.? Let us know in the comments, and let's go to question number 4. I actually meant question number 5. So question number 5, the topic is food.
Yes.
Something that we love. I would like to know, what is a food from your travels, our travels, you wish you could have again?
Man, this is the hardest question because we've had so many delicious meals in our travels, and we just love different food as well.
Yeah.
And this is very tied up in nostalgia for me too, because we lived in South Korea for 3 years, and the meals were so different from America and distinct, and we actually enjoyed them. So now I can't get them the same way. So like if you go to a Korean restaurant in America, you're gonna spend a lot more to get something that isn't as probably as quality as what you'd get there.
Just the different atmosphere, all of that.
So I had a kind of tough decision to make. So I chose a meal called samgyeopsal.
Okay.
Which means 3-layered flesh in Korean.
Thick bacon,
it's
basically.
Bacon. It's thick bacon, but you would cook this on a grill in front of you in a restaurant with lots of people, and you'd hit a little bell and it goes ding dong, and the waitress says nay, and she fills up your water. It's more a whole experience than just the food. But
if you finish your side dishes, they'll bring you endless amounts of other side dishes.
Yes, endless side dishes. So it's not really just one thing. It's more of the whole experience. And it has a lot of nostalgia for us because you can't really get the same thing here. Like you kind of can, but it's just not quite the same.
Yeah.
And it was always delicious, especially in South Korea. Even us, relatively thin people, we lost weight when we went to South Korea because it's just way less rich food in general compared to American diets. And we didn't have very much money, so we didn't eat this all the time. We just ate it sometimes. So that was always a winner. And I have to add another one because we have traveled in Europe as well. And technically this meal is tastier. I'm thinking of, can you guess?
Cinque Terre?
Yep.
Cinque Terre.
Yes, there was a seafood meal we ate in Cinque Terre that had, I don't even remember what we ate. Fish, pasta.
I had like a octopus
amazing wine.
in pasta meat thing. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
And that was also kind of a good vibe, nostalgic experience, because when I think back to it, we did a lot of beautiful hikes on that trip. And then we ended in the last little town and ate at that restaurant, and it was really delicious. So,
Yeah. So even
it
if we
all
go
worked
back
out
there,
perfectly.
it will be a different vibe and different feel because, like you said, I think food is really tied to nostalgia. So like the atmosphere, and you can't just eat the food separately from anything else.
Bing bong.
Yeah. We don't have bells on the table
No.
to call the waitress.
If you're Korean and watching this, you're like, "Pff, what's the big deal about that?"
But for us,
But for us, it's just this is so funny and
it
cute.
was so great, and yeah, we love that kind of experience.
Yes.
Mine
So
is
how about you? Yes.
very similar. In fact, yeah.
Was it the same meal?
No, I thought about saying not specifically samgyeopsal, but just eating outside. Like it's basically on a sidewalk. There's little plastic tables, and you're cooking this type of thing that Dan's talking about. But the one that I thought about was also in Korea because there's a lot of nostalgia.
Is it baekbon?
I almost said baekbun.
I thought that too.
I almost said baekbun.
It's not always the best food, but the environment was perfect.
But what I said also, because I like the food so much, is a meal called dakgalbi.
Oh.
And there was a restaurant, specifically the restaurant that we went to often in Ansan, which was the city we lived in for the first 2 years in Korea. And our first week living there, it was my birthday in September, and we went there with a bunch of new friends, and I had never eaten something like this before, where we sat at a table and they had a burner on the table and they had all the ingredients there, and it was like uncooked chicken, cabbage, rice cakes, all of these things, carrots, the sauce, it was all in this thing. And the person who was the server was helping to
She tossed it up for
helping
you.
to cook it, and we were all just sitting there and kind of watching it. It's very different from an American kind of like hibachi experience. This is a similar experience or similar idea where someone is cooking in front of you, but this was different, much more casual.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there for my birthday, surrounded by all these new friends in a new city, eating this food that I thought was so exciting, and they're cooking it in front of us, and it is amazingly delicious.
It was very yummy.
And that place is, full of so many memories. So whenever someone came to visit us from the US or we made a new friend, we would always go to that restaurant. And then the third year we lived in South Korea, we moved to a city called Suwon, which is about an hour away. And after that year, that restaurant closed.
No!
So when this question says something you wish you could try again, this will always be just a wish.
I'm sure that lady opened up another restaurant,
I
right?
hope so. I hope she is world renowned as amazing dakgalbi restaurant, because we had dakgalbi also in Suwon, and that was nice. That lady was super nice. We talked through Google
Yeah.
Translate a lot.
Their dakgalbi was good too.
Yeah, but
I
there
liked
was
it both.
something about that first place that really
It had the nostalgia.
has a special place in my heart.
It
so
is.
that's what I would
It
say.
is funny though. We would take Korean people there, and they'd be like, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
But for us, that was
We were like,
just
"This is so awesome."
so fun. Yeah. Anyway, you can see we get very excited about food. Now maybe I know why our children are also excited about food. Like they're crazed about food.
It's because
so.
they're kids.
Yeah, but some kids are very picky. But
Well, that's true. Yeah, they do like more food than average kids.
our kids love all this type of stuff just as passionately as us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have a question for you. What is a food from your travels that you wish you could have again? It might be because it was good. It might be because of the vibe and the atmosphere and the memories, the nostalgia, like what we talked about. Let us know in the comments what food you wish you could have again, and we'll learn about food from around the world. All right, let's go to the next question. Question number 6. I think we're on
Yep.
6. All right, question number 6. Question number 6 is about nature. This is maybe a little silly of a question, but that's okay.
We like critters, so that's okay.
Yeah, as you can tell. So this question is, if you could have any defense mechanism of an animal, what would you have? So if you could have that type of defense mechanism in your body or become you,
In my body.
yes, what would it be? So can we maybe explain quickly what a defense mechanism is?
Yeah, sure. So a defense mechanism is something that an animal has or uses, a feature that protects it from predators.
Yeah.
Or is a way to either get the predator to go away or escape the predator.
So maybe like quills on a porcupine, something like this. And we can even say humans have a defense mechanism. We might use that like emotionally.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
To say like, oh, why is why is he always making jokes? It's actually a defense mechanism because he experienced a lot of trauma in his life, and joking and laughing helps him to not feel so vulnerable or something like this. It's more of an emotional thing, so you can have a defense mechanism as a human. But I want to know, in a silly way, if you could imagine having an animal's defense mechanism, what would it be?
Mine would be, this is a little bit of a cop-out,
Okay.
flying. Because now we don't really associate flying with just defense, but it can certainly be used as a defense. So a bird will fly away when you come near it. And we were talking about it earlier and saying that flying probably evolved as a defense mechanism for an animal to get out of the way from a predator really efficiently and effectively.
I almost said flying too for this
Yeah.
one. It's a good one.
So, I mean, but who doesn't want to fly?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, then you have to be really lightweight, and you're probably not very intimidating, and then you have to be a bat or a bird. But
You could be an eagle.
if
You
I
could
could
be a
still
hawk.
be me and fly, then I would choose that.
Yeah, just imagine you're walking down a dark alley. I don't know why you're walking down a dark alley, and then somebody dangerous steps out, and all of a sudden your wings open up and you fly away.
Ooh, would they pop out of my back like an angel?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I think there's some kind of like X-Men or superhero or something that does that.
Probably.
We don't know about that.
Birdman,
Kind of stuff. Birdman? Is that a bird?
Batman, Squawk Man,
Eagle Man?
Eagle Man,
Okay.
Raven Man, Robin Man, Robin,
California Condor Man?
Bluebird Man.
These are all the birds we know. Okay, well,
And we're not into superheroes.
flying
so.
is a good one. I almost said that, and you know what? I think I have something different I'd like to share, but I think for me, actually flying is probably more realistic. Not like I can actually fly, but because if I'm faced with
That's
danger,
realistic.
I'm probably more likely to flee
Oh, yeah.
than to fight. So we call this fight or flight. When you're in a dangerous situation, either dangerous physically or dangerous emotionally, we say, oh, your fight or flight kicks in. So either you fight and you try to win, or you flee. So that's
Run away!
the flight part. You're not actually flying, but maybe you try to run away from that dangerous situation. And I think for me, that's more true. Like, I'm more likely to run away from danger.
Lady folk in general.
But I said something different. I said something different.
Food is still on my mind.
Oh, food. I said something different. I said a horny toad, which is actually a type of lizard. A horny toad has something very interesting that they do. They, when faced with danger, can stop their blood flow to their heart. Their blood fills up in them, and they shoot blood out of their eyes at their aggressor. What?
Into their aggressor's eyes?
At least at their aggressor. And the blood isn't like venomous or anything like this. It's just shocking. So I thought it would be hilarious.
That would shock me.
If Vanessa, oh hi, I'm Vanessa, nice Vanessa. And then somebody is a bad person and I just went and like shot blood out of my eyes at them.
Yeah.
I think it would be so shocking that I could be saved. But maybe flying
Sure.
is something I would realistically be more
Enjoy.
likely to do. Like, oh, I probably would fly away instead of fighting. But shooting blood out of your eyes
It's
if
not
you're
going to
in
win
danger?
you. It's not going to win you a lot of dates.
No.
Hey, baby.
Look what I can do. Yeah, but isn't that crazy that it's actually a lizard, but the horned toad can shoot blood out of its eyes? How in the
how
world
does that
did
even help
nature
it?
decide to do this?
I don't know.
I mean, it must be in danger in some ways that it goes away. It makes stuff go away because of that. Anyway, crazy.
The animal is just so disgusted it doesn't want to eat
I
it.
know, like you got blood shooting out of your eyes? What? So I want to know for you, if you could have any animal's defense mechanism, what would it be? There are many crazy things out there. There are ants that shoot acid. There are porcupines that have quills. This is a great way to expand your vocabulary in a fun way. If you would like, you can type into Google amazing animal defense mechanisms, and you will see many lists of cool things that animals do if you like that kind of stuff. So I want to know, let me know in the comments, what would you like to defend yourself with? All right, let's go to our next question. Question number 7 is about holidays. The question is, What is your favorite holiday tradition? And I kind of have a feeling that we might have the same one.
We had to have.
So do you want to say it at the same time?
Yeah.
On 3?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Christmas
Decorating
tree!
the Christmas tree.
Yes. Decorating the Christmas
Yeah, okay,
tree.
why don't you explain first? Why do you like decorating the Christmas tree?
Man, there's probably a lot of reasons. One primary reason is that this is a tradition that our family always did, so it has a lot of nostalgia tied up into it. And we don't have a lot of other traditions that our family always did. So there's Thanksgiving, which is like you have a meal and you talk about what you're thankful for. And that's another big one. But maybe it's just because you put presents under a tree that like as a kid you just can't get enough of Christmas, you know?
And now?
And yes, and now I really enjoy picking out a Christmas tree. We're really naturey, so we get a real Christmas tree, and I like the smell of the pine. It just hits all of the right senses and feelings. And then you get to decorate it, so your kids are excited, and you get to hang up all the stuff and put up the lights, and there's a whole process. And it's funny because it's probably the most useless thing that we do, but it's one of the best things.
Yeah, I
know?
think even before we had kids, this was a big deal for us.
Of course.
In our marriage, because it's something that you do with your parents growing up, and then for us, when we got married and we started doing that with each other, it kind of felt like, oh, this is like our new life. This is us. We're doing this together, and you're kind of
starting the new generation.
our new traditions, or we're doing this in our own way. Us. It felt different. I said that for me because when I was a kid, we didn't have a real Christmas tree. We had a fake tree, but even in that, I was so excited about it. First of all, I'll set the stage. My mom popped popcorn, so we ate popcorn and it smelled great. We listened to Christmas music.
Always
and
good.
then we all sat in the living room. And because we had a fake tree, there's different kinds of fake trees, but the kind we had, there was a stem in the middle, and it had different holes and you could hook the branches in. And the branches had different colored rings on them, so you could see like the big ones are on the bottom. But because these were closed in a box the entire year, they were flat. So we would all sit around the Christmas tree, bending the branches to look realistic. So we would bend each of the little branches on it and then put it in, and we'd look at each other's and say, oh, that one doesn't look good, or oh, that was really great.
This is all blasphemy to me.
Because you always had a real tree.
It had to be real.
And then
If there's not a fire hazard in your living room, it's not Christmas.
yeah, that's a big reason why we had a fake tree, is because when my dad was a kid, they had a real tree.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for one Christmas. I don't remember if it was for longer than that. And they had a train set going around it, so they could turn on the electric train and it would go around the bottom of the Christmas tree, not in the branches, but just on the ground, and it caught fire. And my dad said one of his first memories is him as a little kid getting a cup of water and throwing it on the Christmas tree fire. So this is huge hazard, and there's so many
I mean,
warnings.
I don't think so much anymore.
Yeah, this is like a big deal.
Christmas trees are safe.
Christmas trees are not safe because they say now, I think it's more known now, that you should always keep water. So you have the Christmas tree that's cut and you put it in like a little basin of water. And if there's not water in there, the tree will dry out and it will catch fire really easily. But if it's filled with water, then the tree is hydrated and it won't catch fire as easily.
But also like 60s electronics versus
that's
today's
true.
electronics, they're not going to catch fire the same way.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Christmas trees are safe and the best.
Dan loves Christmas trees. So I remember, we would do that, and then we would decorate the tree, and my mom always had one ornament, which I now have, that was the first ornament we put on the tree.
Which one was that?
It's the ball that has like lots of little like beads on it, and it's got like
Ball with beads.
ribbons and knots and stuff on it. We have it in
Wow,
our
I
house.
love Christmas trees and I can't remember this ornament.
Oh, well, it's in our house.
That's good. It'll be refreshing this year to see it later.
And she put that on the tree, and that signified we can start to decorate the tree. We would decorate the tree together, and it was just a nice...
How did you guys sit
Time to
back
do
and
that.
not decorate the tree right away? Like our children are like, get all the stuff.
Yeah,
Put it
we
on right
looked
away.
at the ornaments. We were busy doing the branches.
It's because it's 2 girls versus 2 boys.
I don't know. But we did it, and it was fun. And I remember when we got married, that was my first real Christmas tree. We went to a place and got a real tree, and
That was your first?
yeah,
Oh, we got the little one
we got a little tree.
that
Yeah.
we planted later.
Oh
That's
yeah.
another thing you can do sometimes in America, but it's more difficult.
Yeah, you can get it with the root ball
Yeah.
on the bottom. The first year we were married.
It's a lot heavier.
Oh my goodness, it was so heavy. I remember it took 3 of
It
us,
was like 3 feet tall.
me, you, and your brother, to take it out of the car and drag it into our house. Because it was so big, but we wanted to plant it later. We didn't want to just cut a tree down. So we got this tree with a root ball. But ever since then, we've just gotten a cut tree and put it in our house and decorated it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Always a happy time.
Yeah. Well, I want to know for you, what is your favorite holiday tradition? It might not be about Christmas, it could be about any holiday, but I want to know about your experience. Let us know in the comments what's your favorite holiday tradition, and we'll go on to our next question. Question number 9 is about sports and exercise. What is the most recent sport that you did?
Well, this happened just about a week ago, actually, and it's the first time I ever did this outdoors. It was rock climbing. Is this a sport? I guess it's a sport.
It's considered exercise.
Yeah. And so my brother-in-law is, let's just say, obsessed with rock climbing. And he's gotten pretty good at it lately. And so he met us in between where he lives and us. We live about 8 hours away. And we were in West Virginia, which has actually a lot of good rock climbing. And we chose a spot, and he had all the gear. He's got the ropes, he's got the shoes, he's got the backpacks, he's got the harness and all this stuff. And he actually, the helmet too, don't forget the helmet. And he geared me up to do it. And I was not very, I was actually pretty nervous about it. And not because I'm afraid of heights, actually. He's more scared of heights than I am. I think it's kind of funny that he likes doing this so much. He says every single time he does it, he's scared.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
But I'm not afraid of heights, so I wasn't really worried about that. I probably should have been more worried about
What were
it.
you worried about?
I'm like a perfectionist, kind of, or like a completionist. So it really bothers me if I try something and I can't finish it.
So you wanted to be able to make it to the top.
So I knew I could probably do some easy stuff, but he's a lot better than I am. So I knew that he would be wanting to move on to something more challenging. And I didn't really know if I wanted to have to just watch or try it and only get part way. In the end, I did do that. So the first one was a easy one. I don't think it
I'll
was.
show you a picture here of Dan making it all the way to the top.
Yes.
Yes.
So I do kind of naturally have a good body type for climbing. I'm lightweight. I climb a lot of trees. I like to hike and do all that kind of stuff. So I can kind of figure it out, but the hand strength is just on another level to rock climb.
Yeah.
And so I did the easier one and I made it to the top, but all the other ones I made it like part way. And I actually remember we were with another guy too. His name was Jim. And Jim was really inspiring because, and don't worry, this was totally safe. There was a rope tied to the very top. They call it top climbing? Top rope? I don't remember the terms. There's a lot of terms in rock climbing.
Yeah.
And so he was tied to the top, and if you fall, that will catch you right away, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But for me, if I fall one time doing that, I'm like, all right, I'm done. That's how I feel. But he fell probably like 15 times on a climb and just kept on trying and trying and trying, and he made it to the top, and I was like, wow. And when he got down, I said, I have to try a lot more because a lot more than I would, because I just saw him like persevere. So it's a very good perseverance kind of sport.
Yeah.
So I tried and tried and tried, and I got like 1/3 of the way because it was really difficult. It's called crack climbing, and there's just like a crack in the wall, and you got to like put your hands there and like just.
Oh, that sounds hard.
There's nothing except for a crack. And like little tiny ledges. But so they're experienced, so they got up the first part really easily. But so the girl who was with us, she said, yeah, that was kind of tricky. But I was stuck on the first part for, it felt like 20 minutes. It was probably more like 10 minutes. That was like, they just got up that part. But it was literally just like a little thin rock you had to put your fingers in. Barely any foothold. But I saw Jim fall and fall and fall, and I kept on trying, and I finally did it. Yes!
Wow. Man, that is not up my alley at all.
Yeah, Brad asked me, Brad's my brother-in-law, he said, do you think Vanessa would ever do this with you? And I was like, I can't imagine you wanting to do that.
I don't like heights like that. And I feel like I can't just do something like that like you. I would need to go to the climbing gym and feel comfortable
Train.
with it, because at least for me, that takes a lot of upper body strength, like your abs, your arms, your fingers. And I think maybe for you, like you were able to make it to the top of the easier one and halfway up or a third of the way up the other ones because like you're not afraid of heights and your strength is distributed differently than mine.
Yes.
But I think for something like that, I would need to massively feel more comfortable with heights and like go to the gym in
The girl
advance.
who was with us was the best one there.
Yeah,
She was amazing.
I bet.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you can practice
women can
that and
definitely do it.
Yeah,
But
that's the cool thing. Like
She was kind of like spider monkey-y though.
going everywhere.
She hadn't had any children yet, so
Yeah, maybe.
children doesn't number on you. I speak from experience.
Yeah. In any case, I think that seems like the kind of exercise or sport that I would need to practice in advance before going outside to do it. Mm-hmm. And inside where there's, I don't know, maybe more predictability or practice, that would be better for me. But
I thought it was more fun outside because I've done climbing gyms before, and it's okay, but outside's like a whole adventure. It did take forever though.
Yeah.
Like
You have to hook up everything?
We did 4 climbs and we were there all day. So you're watching like other people go, and also one person has to be I forget what it's called.
Belay?
Belay. Yeah, so one person's like holding you, making sure you're not going to fall down. So they actually hold you up from the other end.
Cool.
Kind of I don't know all the terms, but you can kind of imagine it.
Yeah.
Right?
It kind of seemed like cool camaraderie too with everybody who was there.
That was probably the best part.
As in we all went together, and then I went on a hike with Dan's sister and our kids and Dan's parents. We were at the same place but hiking instead, but we were going back and watching them too. And it seemed like everyone who was in this area climbing just was chill. They were all like the type of like perseverant, motivated type of person who's like, I'm gonna climb this rock.
It's a
personal
culture
challenge.
for sure. Yeah, one guy walked up and there's a climb and they all have funny names, and he was like, "Oh, did you do chalk line? Cool, bro." It was like totally
trying to size each other up.
surfer vibes. Yeah.
I could see that.
Well,
Sounds like a fun time, even though it was hard.
Oh, it was very hard.
Bonding
Very hard.
together.
Yes. How about you? Have you tried any sports recently?
Yeah, I
Have
was trying to think about this, and the answer is not really, but
Baseball.
I was going to say baseball.
Really?
Because we have been, our 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old, maybe by the time you're watching this, he'll be 5. 5-year-old son has been into hitting the baseball with a baseball bat lately. And in June, we visited Pittsburgh when Dan went
rock climbing.
After that, we went to a baseball field with our Dan's sister and their cousins and some family little kids. And we tried to kind of play a baseball game.
Yes.
There's bases, and we were all hitting. The kids hit, we hit, and I've always liked hitting a baseball. I think it's pretty fun. But
That's when you realize how many rules there are in baseball.
yeah.
Don't run with the bat. First base is over there. No, you have to stop on the base. Wait, he's going to throw the ball to you. It's like, forget about it. Just let him hit the ball.
Yeah, it was really funny to see like our son hit the ball, and he was just so excited that he hit it that he was holding on to the bat and he ran to third base. Like, no, that way, drop the bat, go that way.
Yes.
We were just having fun, but that was, it was fun, and I like hitting. I've always liked hitting a baseball, so even though it wasn't organized, like an actual organized sport, I think that was still a sport. It wasn't too much exercise, but it was fun.
I have a funny story about baseball. Can I share it?
Yes.
When I was a kid.
Go ahead.
So when I was a kid, I played baseball up until coach pitch, which is where the coach is pitching, not the players. And then I started getting scared of how fast the ball was coming. So at least back then, that's how I felt. But one time I was the first baseman, and in baseball, it's a very slow sport, right? So for kids, you just start getting distracted when it's just like, they're not hitting the ball and you're just waiting out there. So I was pretending to be Darth Vader with my glove over my face. And I was literally standing on first base going, and the player hit the ball and hit me on the glove. And that we totally missed the play, and it was because I was pretending to be Darth Vader on first base.
There you go.
That's my story.
Wow.
And that's why I quit baseball.
Oh, man.
Actually, that's not why.
Yeah.
It's because I had practiced with my brother, and he would like throw really hard, and I didn't want to get hit by the ball, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I
Baseball.
wouldn't want to get hit by a baseball either. In the U.S., it's pretty common for kids to do, they call Little League.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different stages, and one stage might be like a parent is throwing the ball to the kids, or
coach.
it's sitting on a tee, it's sitting on like a little stand, and the kids just have to try to hit the ball. And then the next level might be like another player is throwing it, or then the coach is throwing it as you get more and more advanced. So it's kind of working you up to being a better player, but
To the majors.
to the majors. Well, that was your first answer, right? You wished you could be
Yeah.
a famous sports player.
I'd take the best baseball player, or just really great.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, any sport. I love sports.
Well, I want to ask you the same question. What was the most recent sport that you've played? It could be an organized sport like baseball, or it could be something that's just more exercise, like
rock climbing.
Rock climbing, but some people might say it's a sport. So let us know in the comments what's the most recent sport you've played, and we'll go on to our next question. Question number 10 is about electronics. This is another hypothetical question. If you could invent any new electronic device, what would it be and what would it do?
So when I first was thinking about this, I thought like gadgets, like a new toaster that never burnt the toast. Okay. But I think when I think of like noble uses for electronics, I think of like the medical field. So my electronic invention would be a tiny robot that kills cancer.
Oh,
A cancer-killing search and destroy robot.
Wow.
So
That's noble.
I think they might be working on this.
Yeah, I don't know much about that field.
I think there is like some kind of or like tiny robot, for lack of a better word, that can find certain diseases or cells in the body. I do not have a background in biotech at all, but I would almost guarantee somebody's trying to figure out how to get tiny robots that can find and kill cancer in people.
That sounds great.
That would be probably the best use of an electronic gadget.
Mine is very selfish compared to that.
Yeah, because nothing sucks more than cancer.
Yeah.
I think. Like, that's just the worst thing.
Yeah, well, if you are in biotech, or if you are a cancer-related doctor or surgeon...
Send me your number and I'll tell you my plans.
Yeah, let us know. Does something like this exist? Is this something that's in the works? Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, how about you? How many cancer-destroying things are you creating in your spare time?
Oh, sorry. Mine's very selfish. I was thinking more personal. So in our house, to go to our deck, we have a sliding door there's a glass sliding door, and then there's a screen that you can just like push through. It's like a magnet. You can just go through it. But in the summer, we try to keep the glass sliding door closed because there's air conditioning in our house and it's super hot and muggy, humid outside. So we don't want that air to get inside. We want it to stay cool inside. And we go in and out a lot in our house. So with young children, it's kind of tricky to get them to keep that glass door closed. It's also kind of heavy.
The sliding door.
So for them to pull it open is okay. And then they bust through the screen door and they're outside and like, I'm gonna go do something. And they don't think about the glass door. So, and for me too, sometimes if I'm carrying something, I have to open the door. So my electronic gadget would be a button that you can push that would open the door, and then automatically within 30 seconds, it would close the door. So you have time to go through and it would close. It might be, like sensor by your body. So if you're still in the doorway, it wouldn't close. But that way it would always close behind us.
What if couldn't you just use like in the grocery store where it automatically opens?
Yeah,
The
something like
sliding
that.
Automatic
But
door.
people don't have that in their house.
Oh,
so-
but it's only a matter of money.
I mean, maybe we could get something like that installed in our house now. But I was kind of envisioning, I imagine people who are handicapped or in a wheelchair, maybe they have something like this that's automatic. And
Probably.
I'm sure it's a big system you have to install. It's probably a lot of money or kind of a hassle. But I'm sure there's some kind of system.
Oh, we could go to a closed down grocery store, and every time it opens, it says, "Welcome to Aldi."
And then, as in, we would take Aldi's doors and put them in our house, and it would have a speaker that says, "Welcome to the grocery store."
Yep.
Every time we open our house's doors.
It'd be the most charming
Wow.
thing we could possibly add to our home.
Maybe we could have it say, "Welcome home, Vanessa."
Oh, yeah, programmable.
I don't think I would like my doors to talk.
And it also takes off your hat
Wow.
with the arm.
Maybe it also like
your coat.
feeds you food and gives you water.
And it's a conveyor belt too, so you don't have to walk through it.
And maybe it is also your brain, so you don't have to think.
And there's another arm that like puts a soda in your hand.
That's weird. Yes, so I would like our glass sliding door to be closed more easily so that it is not a personal hassle or an annoyance in our home. But I must say that Dan's cancer-fighting robots are probably a better idea. Anyway, I thought about this question for about 4.2 seconds.
And I thought of it for 4 minutes, so to
Okay.
be fair.
Yeah, so maybe if I thought about it for 4 minutes, I would have come up with a better idea. Anyway, what about you? What kind of new electronic gadget would you like to invent, and what would it do? Let us know in the comments, and we'll go to our next question. Question number 11 is about money. I'd like to know, what is something that you can justify spending more money on, and why?
Justify. I mean, probably speakers.
Oh, we always talk about speakers.
I'm kidding. I like audio stuff a lot, and I would say maybe once a year, I just start like looking into like some audio equipment or some kind of electronics usually. And I'm like, Vanessa, do you think we could? She's like, no, we have like 10 speakers or headphones or something, you know.
We talked about this in past videos.
Yes. So this is not actually my answer. I said property.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I know for sure we want to have another property.
Like in the woods.
Yes.
That's
So
kind of our
we would like to own, it might just be land, but maybe just like a cabin. And this is a little bit nostalgic for me because my grandfather actually gave my parents, or I guess gave us access to a very simple cabin that we would go to in the mountains in Colorado. And that was like our little escape from the hubbub of normal life, going to that cabin.
No
So-
electricity, no plumbing.
Yes, but it has to be like that. It has to be off grid, basically. I mean, it had electricity,
Oh yeah.
but it didn't have running water.
That was the thing.
So, I mean, I think I'd take electricity. That's kind of nice.
That is nice.
I don't know. We'll debate the details later, but I know for sure I want to have some more property, and you can always, justify it by saying, well, this is an investment too. You can always resell it. And usually with property, you'll at least make back what you bought it for,
Hopefully.
especially in this area, like it's always growing. So I can make a lot of justifications for why we need to own many beach homes. I mean, mountain homes.
cabins. Yeah, when you were a kid,
Many.
you would just go to the mountains with your mom and siblings and play in the woods and catch critters.
Yeah, and there was acres of land there. There wasn't as many critters as I would have liked there.
Oh yeah.
But there was a pond and there were dragonflies and fish.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a beautiful childhood too, being able to do stuff like that. Like we go hiking a lot, but there's something special about staying there.
Yeah.
Like in the cabin, and you go back to the same place maybe different seasons and like get to know the
Yeah.
seasons there. That's cool.
Yeah, the best thing about the cabin that we had was it had a loft, which is, and this was, it doesn't seem very safe thinking back to it because my memory of it is basically just like, it was like a plywood deck hanging from the ceiling.
Did
So
it have a...
It was hanging down, and you climbed a ladder up to it. And it had plywood walls, but there were like gaps in the walls too, where you could just like jump down, which we didn't jump down. But what we did was, because it was a one-room cabin, if my parents were there with some friends or my grandparents, they would play cards and they would send us to bed, but we could hear everything. So we'd spy on them and we'd like drop stuff down on them and stuff.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Wow. So maybe we can recreate this rustic
We need a loft.
experience. What do you think it would be just as fun as an adult? Because you were a kid doing it. Do you think that...
To sleep in the loft?
Well, for us, because we're adults now, so having this kind of rural experience, would it be as fun for us as
I think it would be.
as for kids?
Yeah, because one benefit of being in a place like America in the United States is that you can usually find some place that is very rural and
Quickly
quiet.
and close.
And we live close enough to like a highway and stuff that it would be nice to just only hear the birds chirping.
Yeah, I think that's really possible. I mean,
And like get away from electronics and stuff. Like it would have to be like an intentional, this is not a place where we have a TV, for example.
yeah, I think you can drive about 20 minutes away from our house and be very much in the woods.
Yes.
But anyway, that's a specific discussion for another time.
Yes.
Cool. So you'd like to have a
More
cabin,
properties.
and that would be an investment that you could justify. Well, I think for me, when I thought about this, I thought more of something that we already do that we have justified spending more money on. So
Garden boxes.
I spend too much money on the garden. That's true. These are the world's most expensive
We are
tomatoes.
now a small scale farm.
That's not what I was saying, but that is true. I thought of something more in our daily life. So I think this is different for everyone depending on how much money you have. So at some point in our marriage, we bought like the cheapest food. This is all that we could afford, and that was it. But then as we made more money, we wanted to intentionally buy better quality food.
We prioritize it.
Yeah, so instead of just buying expensive food, we wanted to buy, especially, we kind of made an intention to buy better quality animal products specifically. So in the US, you have a lot of options, like you could buy organic carrots or conventional carrots. And not so much that, I'm thinking more about meat and yogurt and cheese and milk.
Where the creatures are involved.
Yeah, because in the area where we live, there's a lot of options for buying local grass-fed beef, for example, where there's a farm down the street, and it's much more expensive than buying the cheapest beef at the grocery store. But for us, as we've made more money, this has been something that we justify spending more money on. And if we didn't have money, then I would not spend money on that, because that wasn't a priority.
Be hot dogs and canned tuna.
I mean, maybe not hot dogs, but some beans or just rice.
Oh.
Something very simple.
Rice and beans, there you go.
Yeah, you can live off of that. Lots of people do. But for us, this has been something that we have been intentional about. So when we buy milk, we try to buy like good quality, not just expensive, but like either local milk or something that's whole milk, grass-fed, something local, these types of things. We have our own chickens, so those are certainly
They're free range.
beautiful quality eggs. But this type of thing, because I feel like it is directly impacting the farming world and the animal's life. So we are not vegan, we're not vegetarian, but I don't like conventional farms and factory farms, big scale farms. And I
From the
understand
standpoint of the animals.
from a lot of standpoints, the environment, animals, all of that. Maybe you're eating too much meat, but I completely understand that if you don't have much money, you buy food. You just have to buy the food that you buy, and you have to survive. And then as you make more money, you make different choices about what you buy. And for us, that's been increasing the quality of the animal products that we buy for a lot of different reasons. But anyway, that's something that I can justify spending more money on.
Yes.
And
Better food.
Yeah, that's something that we've chosen to spend more money on over time. And that is probably different for you. So let us know in the comments for you, what is something that you can justify spending more money on? Maybe in the future, like Dan's answer, some cabin or property, you could justify spending more money on that. Or maybe it's something that you already spend more money on, like my answer. Let us know in the comments. I'm curious, what are your financial priorities? Let us know in the comments, and let's go to the next question. Question number 11 is about games. We like games.
Games. Are they fun?
Yes.
I don't know.
I would like to know, what is a game that you play that you're very competitive about? And the word competitive means you want to win. You feel serious. You can still have fun, but you want to win.
The real question for me is, what is a game that I don't feel competitive about? Because I have like a game switch in my head. I start playing a game and I'm like, strategy on, let's win this thing. And I feel very competitive about it. So I would say, especially any game that has strategy, where you can actually make decisions that will really impact the game. There's a lot of games that are just roll the dice and it's random chance. It's a little easier not to be competitive about that.
Yeah.
Like when I played Chutes and Ladders with my son the other day.
Yeah.
Like 100% luck.
Yes.
Which he didn't necessarily understand. He was like, look, I'm gonna jump over the slide.
You can't jump over the slide.
That's not part of the rules. But that was very interesting that he thought about that himself. But anyway, so yeah, the question is, what am I competitive?
Yeah, give an example of some games, because maybe our students
So what
too
am I
would
like super competitive
Yeah,
about?
maybe they'd like some examples
so
that they could play.
A recent example is, there's a game called Codenames. And it's one of the best games ever, I think.
Actually, I have a YouTube video where Dan and I play this, and I teach you how to play it and teach you vocabulary along the way.
It is very challenging. It scales, so if your group is very smart, they'll play it very smart. If your group is dumb, if it's, it's plays to the level of the players. And so I've had to train myself not to get competitive about this game, because when we first played this, we literally went to bed that night and had an argument about it.
But why did you say this thing? No,
Why was that your hint?
How could you not get this?
Yeah, so, and it feels really bad to lose that game, I think.
Yeah.
So that one really got to me. The last time we played, I have to usually tell myself, I'm not going to get super competitive. I'm just going to have a good time. And if I lose, that's okay. I have to prep myself because I really like to win games.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've gotten better with that over time.
Yeah.
So
I think Codenames is a good one for English learners. One that we play often, or we play maybe 3 times a year, is Settlers of Catan.
Yes.
So you can play the simple version of Settlers of Catan, or you can use the expansions.
We go a little crazy. And
the original game, it might take 1.5 hours. But the way we play, sometimes it takes 5 hours. And it can be very intense, and it depends on who you play with. I've played this game with people who are so serious that they are not fun to play with. As in, if you set the dice down, they'll say, oh, your turn's over. It's my turn now. Oh, what? Give me some slack. Cut me some slack. But when we play with us, and the people we usually play with is Dan's sister and her husband, Brad.
That's the only people we play
Dan
with
rock
now.
climbed with. Yeah, when we play with them, we're all competitive, but we're nice.
We're lighthearted at the same time.
Yeah, we have a good time still. And sometimes at the end of the game, when it's about 2 o'clock in the morning.
We've had arguments though.
Oh yeah, we've had big arguments, the 4 of us, about it. But when it's getting really late at night, everyone's really tired, and we know we have to wake up early with all of our kids, so it gets a little more stressful. But that's a fun one.
Yes.
Those are neither.
You feel competitive about that?
I feel competitive about.
You're a quiet competitor.
I feel competitive about those games, but I feel most competitive when I play Carcassonne.
Oh, just against me.
Against you, mainly
You
because
beat me a lot too.
that's why.
I don't like
Because
it.
I have probably like a 50% chance of winning. A lot of games, depending on what they are, if I play them with just Stan, I either won't win often or it'll be like 30% of the time I'll win. But with Carcassonne, I win about 50% of the time.
And it's not just luck.
It's not just luck. There's a lot of work and strategy, and if you mess up a move, you can lose the entire game and your 3-hour experience is lost. So I like Carcassonne a lot because of that. It's fun to me. I can win.
We could play one-on-one.
We can play to get just us, and I think that's a good there's not many good strategy games that you can play with just 2 people. It's based off of a city in France, Carcassonne, the same name, and the game looks like that city.
You build city walls and roads and stuff.
Yeah, it's quite fun. There's also expansions on that can
Theo
make it
would
longer.
love that game.
I think you could play it.
Yeah, we gotta play that with my son.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway,
He's gonna like games too.
he
We're gonna get in a lot of family arguments.
about being competitive. Actually, he played Settlers of Catan Jr.,
Yeah,
which
he
is
did
the kids
amazing.
version,
Yesterday.
yesterday for the first time, and you were playing with him.
I mean, I helped him a lot, but he still got it.
Cool. That's like a new phase in parenting.
He's not
when
even
we
5
can-
yet, and he still sat through turns and like listened to the rules and he looked at the little chart and figured it out and
That's
stuff.
cool.
Yeah,
That sounds fun. Like
it was impressive.
I like little kid stuff, but I really like,
Big kid stuff.
playing baseball with your kids or playing Settlers of Catan with your kids, like stuff that I enjoy too. Like, for example, we're going to an aquarium for our 5-year-old's birthday. I like aquariums, and this isn't something that's just for kids. Like, it's for us too, and it's for his birthday. So kind of a new stage of...
The Giant Critter Museum!
That's Dan's favorite!
Yes!
Anyway, that was a little detour. So I want to know for you, what game do you feel competitive about? Or maybe you are a non-competitive person. You play a game and you're like, I could win. I don't have to win. It's okay. Or maybe you are super competitive. Let us know in the comments what's a game you feel competitive about. And we'll go to our next question. Question number 13 is about celebrities. Or maybe they don't have to be celebrities. Interesting people.
Famous people.
This is a common
Infamous people.
question, like a common conversation question, to kind of spice things up. I'm having a special dinner party. Who is someone, dead or alive, who you would like to invite?
Yeah, I feel like I've answered something similar to this recently.
Oh, okay.
And I give this answer a lot, so I'm very current. I just want to know what's going on in the world now. So I would just invite the current president.
Okay.
So Joe Biden. I would actually take Donald Trump too, just because I can't believe these people exist and are so annoying and dumb. I want to see what they're really like. Like, are they really as ridiculous and empty as they seem? Or are they faking it? I want to ask them tough questions and see like if Joe Biden just falls asleep in the middle of dinner, or if Donald Trump just, well, I guess he seems pretty, yeah, he'd probably just bloviate something. But yeah, I want to like get into their heads, or try to, and just see like how ridiculous they are in real life, because again,
You're just curious?
I live my life and then I see like these are the people running the country, and I just like can't put that together, and it makes me feel upset
They
usually.
don't seem like real people.
Yeah, they're not.
So having a dinner conversation with somebody can
Yeah.
kind of bring out the real them, like the real inside look.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's another key element. I'd get them really drunk.
Okay.
Got to spike their drinks a little bit more. This is not what I'd really do, but this is the hypothetical world where I get Donald Trump at my dinner table, or Joe Biden.
Okay.
Joe Biden would just fall asleep. I mean, I'm convinced he's old and just not with it.
Okay.
So.
Well,
But he'd probably share a lot of information if you got him tipsy.
that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Just how close are your fingers to the nuclear buttons, Mr. President?
Do we want to know?
No.
Well, I feel like for my answer to this question, I chose to go much more personal. And that's usually when I think about this question, I always think that more so.
This is the difference between you and me.
Yeah, because if I met with the current or past presidents of the US, I don't know what I would do with that information. Like, okay, so this is what they're like. Now what do I do?
Share it to the world.
But I think
Nobody believe you.
I would be very interested from a personal standpoint to meet, on my question number 1, I mentioned Antoinette Manolfi, my great grandma who came from Italy. I would be very interested to sit down and have a conversation at dinner with her.
That would be very
What
interesting.
kind of woman is she? That she met a random man, moved to another country, left her family, never saw them again, and raised 6 children in the US, and here we are.
I have a question.
I'd be very interested.
Would you go back in time, or would she come to current time in this hypothetical universe?
She would come to current times.
So you want to show her the future.
I wouldn't show her anything. I would just be eating dinner with her, and she would have her entire life experience.
Okay.
So I don't want her to be
maybe it
like
doesn't matter.
90 years old when she can't remember things, but I don't want her to be 30 years old and she hasn't had a lot of experiences yet. So this is a magical question.
So 60. That's sweet spot. How long did she live, anyways?
I don't know. I met her when
Oh,
I there's a picture of me on her lap as a baby.
Oh.
So she lived at least till like 1987, 1988. I don't know how old she was, but I'm sure she
Probably
was
pretty old.
She had a lot of life experiences, and I'm always curious about what life was like back then, and I think it would be kind of a personal touch to be like, oh, this was someone who is part of me and some kind of roots. Anyway, that's my answer. So I'm curious for you. If you had a magical dinner party, who would you like to invite? Someone dead or alive? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious to see what you have to say, and let's go to our next question. The 14th question is about pets. What kind of pet would you like to have?
What kind of pet? If I could have any pet
If you could have any pet
in the world
Yes.
that I don't already have,
Well, we have chickens.
because we have cats and chickens.
Tadpoles that turned into frogs. Cats. Do we have anything else at the moment?
Well, okay, I can think of one
caterpillar.
that does not really fit our family.
Okay.
And it is a smart dog that doesn't bark too much.
Our child hates barking
Well,
dogs.
I hate barking too.
Yeah.
But I really like dogs to a degree. Certain dogs I really like because I just feel like humans and dogs, like they really are man's best friend. But when I think about how much work a dog takes, and it's like almost taking on another family member,
Oh, yeah.
and it just doesn't really fit. Not to mention, our oldest son is extremely afraid of dogs.
Yeah.
And he really, really does not like them.
Yeah, if you have any tips about how to help kids feel more comfortable with dogs without traumatizing them, I need some help.
Yeah.
Let me know in the comments.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Yep.
But also, I don't think you like dogs as much as I do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you would put it on a bucket list. Like, it's almost a bucket list thing for me to have a dog someday. And like a cool dog, like a border collie or an Australian shepherd. Something that's noble, smart, fast, cunning, and difficult to keep. Because border collies are like notorious for needing lots and lots of exercise.
Yeah.
So
If we were farmers, maybe, like we worked on a farm.
we're getting there.
We have a big garden. We worked on a farm in the south of France, and they had a border collie that was so fun and so smart.
You
and,
could see the intelligence in that dog's eyes.
Oh yeah, that dog was amazing. But that dog was living in the perfect place. It had endless stimulation, endless exercise. That
Never
dog
went
could
inside.
work there. Yeah, it was great. But I think it's also smart to know what animals don't fit your life. And for us, at least at the moment, we have a lot of smart, fast, running around creatures in our house called children. So we're at
Yeah.
our capacity.
Yes. Yeah, and there's also more dogs that I actually dislike than like. Like, there's a lot of dogs I'm just like, no thank you. Small yippy dogs, no thanks. I
Not
don't-
your
Not my
style.
thing.
Yeah.
I need to be bigger, smarter,
Oh.
noble, cunning.
was
These
it-
are the words that come to my mind when I think
Okay.
of a cool dog.
Yeah, a dog that helps you in some way too, like a working dog maybe.
Sure. That's not even necessary. Just one that can catch a frisbee.
Oh, that sounds fun. Cool. Well, our kids are getting there. Did you have another one? I thought you said you had a second one.
Well, so I also said some kind of fish,
Oh,
like a giant fish.
what's
This
giant
is my like.
mean? Like
this
a
is,
whale?
both of these are unrealistic because you said any
yeah,
pet.
it's okay. We can
So-
dream.
When you get into the aquarium world, Let me tell you about the aquarium world. You can get pretty detailed and intense about it. And there are some really cool fish. There's one, I think it's called an arowana,
Okay.
I want to say. And they can get like this big.
What kind of tank do
And
you
they're
have to have?
shiny. And they can be like gold or red. But they'll literally sell for like $10,000.
What? And you probably have to have a tank the size of this room?
And you need a big tank. Probably not the size of the room, but...
Oh my goodness.
I wouldn't want to spend money on it. Like, I'd never bring myself to spend money on
Can't
it.
justify spending
But
money on it.
if somebody just like gave me the supplies and the fish, I'd set it up and be happy.
Okay. That's a good dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like my dream.
Yeah, how about you?
I
A
said...
dinosaur.
No. I
Birds.
said a cow.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it would be cool to have a cow, but
Daisy.
I would have... The only way I would have a cow is if basically I was just the owner and someone else came every day to milk the cow. Somebody took care of the cow. I don't want to take care
In
of
this
it.
scenario, you're like a noble woman.
Yes.
Living in her manor.
Yes, and I would say, go take care of my cow down there. Basically, I just want lots of milk. Lots of milk
Free milk.
to make... I mean, it's not free. There's a lot of work that goes into a cow.
Not so free.
I have to pay the person who takes care of the cow. But
You're not touching udders.
having endless amounts of yogurt, cheese, milk that's from your fresh dairy cow, that's cool. But it's also extremely hard.
They poop all over your yard.
Well, I don't even
do
need
the
to keep it
chickens.
in my yard.
Oh.
It would be on my farm.
Oh.
It would be in someone else's farm, and I
On
would
your
just own
manor.
that cow. So, but there's actually, I was thinking about this the other day. We stayed at an Airbnb that was a farm, and they have some cows and horses and chickens, and they have a milk sharing program where you can buy part of the cow. So you're not actually like, I buy the leg of the cow, that kind of thing. They're saying if you buy part of the cow, the ownership of this cow, you will get a certain amount of milk per month from that cow. So it's kind of what I'm thinking. You don't have to do any work, but you get the milk.
Yeah.
And you pay for it, but it's like local. And it's kind of going back to like justifying spending more money on high quality animal products. Like we
could just do that.
we eat a lot of yogurt, and I hate to buy all the yogurt. We buy like a bulk big yogurt container, but we go through so many of those. We eat yogurt a lot. Our kids eat yogurt a
love
lot.
yogurt.
Yeah, I think that if we had something like a milk sharing program, I would be more inclined to just, make some yogurt in the crock pot or something and have that at home. Anyway, that's
It's a very Vanessa answer.
that's a dream.
A cow that
Someday.
you don't want to take care of.
No, I don't want to take care of it.
Those people that had the cow at the Airbnb, they looked really tired.
They said
They had 3 cows? 2 cows?
They said the word we would use to describe having a cow is relentless. They said rain or shine, sick
You
or
gotta milk
not,
'em.
Christmas or Thanksgiving, any day, twice a day, they have to go to the barn and milk that cow.
Yeah, and
Now,
it's just 2 people there.
yeah, they didn't hire anyone to help them, so they never get a vacation, which they could hire someone to help occasionally.
I will just
Anyway,
say, I
not my
saw
style.
a twinge of regret in her eyes
Yeah.
when she was talking about.
Yeah, they
this
love those
decision.
cows and they took good care of them, but this is relentless.
Yeah, because in their previous life, they weren't, jobs or careers, they weren't farmers at all.
Yeah.
They made a conscious decision to go back to farming.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, that's my answer. A cow.
that could be you.
That could be me. We'll see. Anyway, what about you? What pet? If you could have any pet in the world or any animal, really doesn't even have to be a pet. What would you have? Let us know in the comments, and we'll go to our final question. Are you ready?
Ready?
Let's go. The final question number 15. We've made it this far, is about books. Something that's a love of my life. The question
And not
is,
as much mine.
yeah, so I'm very curious what you have to say about this. What is a book that you would recommend everyone read because you loved it so much?
Yeah, my answer is definitely a cop-out here.
Yeah?
Because I don't read that much, and the most I ever read, we had a book club, and it basically required me to read. And I like reading a lot, I just don't do it. I find myself listening to something or watching something first. So my cop-out answer is some parenting book.
Oh, okay.
So the one that comes to my mind is called Peaceful Parenting, but I don't think it specifically has to be that. It just has to be something that is not too modern, but not just like handed down generationally. Like this is, I just do what my parents did. Something intentional, training people basically how to be better, kinder, gentler parents for their children, how to talk to them better. There's a lot of strategies and tips you can get for talking to children. And the book also needs to have like a lot of child psychology informing it scientifically, because the more you learn about children, the more you learn that they are developing at different times and rates, and you might think they can handle something, but in reality their brains literally can't handle it. So that gives you more patience.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of parents who just like think their kids are stubborn or like just want to yell at them for things, but they don't really get the full picture about the child's development and their needs.
Yeah.
So that's my answer, even though it's not really one specific book.
Don't worry.
I have other books that I really enjoyed, but maybe aren't as relevant to people. So one that came to my mind is called Educated.
Oh, that was an interesting book. Yeah.
But that feels really relevant to me because I was homeschooled. And so this girl was homeschooled, but like in like a really bad environment. And so it's kind of like that story basically of being extremely sheltered, and basically even in that terrible environment there's like almost pros and cons to it. Like it almost made her stronger in some ways, even though it was awful. So
That's an interesting story too.
a very interesting book to me.
Yeah, I would say for the parenting books, I have an Amazon link. It's like
She's got a list for you.
I do. It's a Speak English with Vanessa Amazon book storefront. So I've chosen a bunch of books that I recommend because I've made a lot of videos about books on this channel. So in the description of this video, you can see the Amazon link for my book recommendations, and there's different folders. There's children's books, there's beginner English books, like if you've never read a book in English before, this is what I recommend reading. There's intermediate books, there's nonfiction books, and in that children's book section are books for children, but also parenting book recommendations that have really impacted us and have been useful in our lives. For example, a book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. There's another book called Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids. And if you have more than one child, Peaceful Parent, Happy Siblings is amazing. We've read a lot of these styles of books, and I think it's kind of just changing your mindset about how to respect your child, but also still be the authority.
Yeah.
Anyway, like
a
Dan
tough
said,
balance.
some psychology as well. So there's a lot of recommendations if you click on that Amazon link and you would like to dive into the world of a better relationship with your child.
Especially if you got kids out there.
Oh yeah, or you are interacting with children. Anyway, it's very insightful. My recommendation was also kind of on a similar nonfiction route, because I've read a lot of fiction that's personally made me feel passionate about different topics. And I love reading fiction and diving into different worlds, especially like historical fiction where you're kind of learning about something in history. But I would say the book that made me, within the last 2 years, the most passionate, can you guess?
Something about Native Americans?
No, I do read a lot about Native Americans though, is a book called Digital Minimalism.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking fiction.
Yes, which is kind of...
Or nonfiction.
Oh, this one is nonfiction.
This is
yes.
nonfiction.
It's kind of ironic because we are here sharing this on social media, but
Yeah.
if you feel like you look at your phone too much, or if you feel like, oh, why did it seem like life was so much more simple in the 1990s? This is a wonderful book to read, Digital Minimalism. It kind of confirmed everything that I suspected or that I thought about, especially about phones, but about media in general. But it gave a better plan for what to do, because you can't just cut out YouTube from your life. I
don't know about that.
You can't cut out Vanessa's videos. I mean, when I need to, for example, do something with the garden, what do I do when I don't know? I Google it, I watch a YouTube video. It's very useful in many ways, say for education or even for entertainment. But this book helps you to have a good plan so that you are the one in control of your media use. It's not just social media. It could be watching the news all the time. It could be listening to podcasts all the time. Whatever it is, I feel like this book helped me to create a better plan for myself so that I felt more in control. So I highly recommend this book because I feel like it's kind of ubiquitous, that everyone, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, in some way uses technology more than they would like.
Yeah.
And technology is not a bad thing.
Problem.
Yeah, it's just something that can easily get out of hand, which is a great expression.
So, do you have any fiction books though?
Oh, yes, but that is a
Recommendations?
whole nother rabbit hole. So
Yeah.
I would recommend, if you want to read...
We didn't mention fiction.
Yeah.
You gotta say one thing at least.
Well, I do recommend watching my videos about fiction book recommendations.
Oh, she's got a whole video about
have-
right here.
4 videos.
Or is it here?
3 videos, I think, so far about book recommendations. So if you would like to watch my video about books to learn about America, so they're like American books about American culture, or they're books that are popular about the US. There's books I mentioned about beginner English books. If you've never read a book in English before, I made a video about those. Nonfiction books, I think I did an advanced book video as well. There are a lot. So I will put those links in the description. Please dive into that if you're interested in reading. It's something I'm passionate about, so I'm always happy to share more about it. And I'm glad this last question was something that is so exciting for me. Yes, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for this very, very long conversation.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you can dive into it a little bit deeper if you would like to download the free MP3 PDF. It's been a long morning making this video. If you'd like to download the free PDF worksheet for this video, there's a link in the description. You'll get access to all of the questions, some of the key sentences that we said. And if all goes well, next week I will be making a video specifically focusing on some key vocabulary from this video. So we'll expand, I'll be explaining...
Dive into our ramblings.
Yes, explaining some of the key expressions that we talked about in this video. Not all of them, but the ones that I deem the most important. So stay tuned next week. You can download the PDF today and then join me next week to dive into the vocabulary a little deeper. Well, thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
This has been a journey this morning.
Many questions.
Many questions.
Many answers.
And
Did we solve the meaning of life?
oh, that's a good question. Let us know. Do you think we solved the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life?
I think we did. As best we could.
If you made it to the end of this video, I would like to give you a little
High five.
a high five and also a little surprise.
Oh.
If you made it to the end of this video, in the comments, I want you to write blue water bottle. Oh, and when I see that in the comments, I'll know you finished this video because you wrote blue water
You
bottle.
saw the blue water bottle.
Oh, it's here. Okay, well, that's our little secret nugget at the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye.
Bye.
The next step is to download the free PDF worksheet for this lesson. With this free PDF, you will master today's lesson and never forget what you have learned. You can be a confident English speaker. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for a free English lesson every Friday. Bye!